Welcome to the monthly podcast, The Wealth of Generations. If you like to build true wealth for generations, this podcast is for you.
In this podcast, we are interviewing Marla Althouse, investor and business owner from the Northwest.
So I would say that when I read the book, it helped me recognize that there are categories of different types of investors. I was like, it was self-discovery, I guess, and the way you put it together, reading through it, I was pleasantly surprised that I was, definitely higher than a 0 or a level 1. I was like, oh, thank God, I'm at least on the right track. I'm in my 50s. It just made me maybe take a little more inventory of my situation, which I think is probably the impetus of your book. And then it also, so I would say it's a little self-discovery and to recognize what the next, if I were to try to, stretch to the next level, what that would entail. And then additionally, it made me think differently about assets, just the way you categorize them. It made me think differently about home ownership, as in it is an expense. It's not necessarily an investment. I've always considered home ownership a complete investment. And I do recognize that you have appreciation of homes and so forth, but that it's really at the monthly level, what is your income or outgoing, right? And so it made me go, oh, and also it made me think completely differently about retirement. I was reading this on a plane and I'm like, okay, so I'm the generation that you go and you get a job and you work really, really hard and you save and then you have $1 million. That's what my target has always been for all these years, have $1 million. And then I'm going to whittle that away. And when I retire, when I'm done and I die, there's nothing left. And if there's anything, I pass that on to my kids. Completely different way you gave me a different way of thinking, which is why in the world would I squander away that entire $1 million asset? Why wouldn't I take it and turn it into a money generating asset and then teach my children how to? That is a completely different mindset. It's a paradigm shift. And I've always recognized that it doesn't make sense to give kids, just give them money. They're going to blow through it. They'll use it on frivolous things. And because you didn't teach them the skills. And I believe your hypothesis that if you give a poor person money, they will be poor again, because you never gave them the skills to go along with managing the wealth. So I would say you changed my thinking on a couple different things.
Wow, this is very touching. And you actually said the things that I wanted the reader to realize. That's exactly my message of the book. You got the brunt of the message. I'm so happy. I
was so excited. I called my brother, and my brother is not in the same situation that I'm in. The idea of exchanging our life, I've always understood that I read a book 20 years ago called Your Money or Your Life. And that woman explained to me, and that she changed my life and my way of thinking, is that when I buy a car for $500 a month, I'm exchanging $500 of my hours of my life for that car payment. Mm-hmm. So I stay away from car payments. I either will pay the car off completely or buy it brand new or whatever I do. But I've always tried to, I've kept that in mind. And your book took it a step further. And what I don't want is, I don't want my children or my future generations to exchange their life for hours. I want them to figure out how you obviously have to. I think it's important to work. I think it's important to have a purpose in life. I think a lot of people like structure, but what I want them to do jobs they like. I want them to do it because they want to, and I want them to figure out how to manage their wealth, manage their assets to benefit them long term, and not just to, I inherit a house, I sell it, now the cash is gone. Yeah. I don't want that. So that this is kind of a continuation of how I felt for years, but I didn't ever have it in words. And it was really strange when I walked into your publishing company for me to see the book and go, oh, look at that, and because it's not like I've gone out and tried to find this type of information anywhere else. It kind of, things happen for a reason, right?
Hmm. Well, yeah, this is, I just had a thought I wanted to say about what you said about building assets. I think this is what most people don't understand, or don't even look into, or don't even see as a possibility, to build
Right.
assets and build capital. Basically, building capital is, we live in capitalism, and I think the majority of the people have not understood what capitalism really is. Capitalism is building wealth and building capital, which then again builds more wealth. And
Yep.
that is the paradigm that most people don't have not really embraced. And
Well,
it is,
because they don't see it.
Mhm.
It's literally they don't have don't it's not around them. It's
And they
not their
don't,
world.
and they don't learn it anywhere.
Right.
Where do you
Nobody
learn it?
teaches you. No,
No, you don't learn it in school.
they don't want
Don't,
you to learn this in school.
no,
They want you to go and they want you to go be a little soldier employee.
yeah,
They don't want you to develop your own different streams of income. That's another book I read years ago, Multiple Streams of Income.
yeah,
But I read that like 30 years ago. Anyways,
yeah. I know that book too. Yeah, it's good.
yeah, yeah,
And that gets it started. You're thinking, multiple streams of income. It's one, salaries might be one stream of income.
that's right.
CEOs, they own a lot of assets, but they also get a salary from their job as a CEO. People
Absolutely.
underestimate that, and it's not just the job that they have, but also and that brings us right back to the start of capitalism. It's a little bit theoretical, I guess, but it's very practical when you think about it. Division of labor. So in 1776, it's the same when America was born. Interestingly, The Wealth of Nations was written by Adam Smith, and he based everything on the division of labor. And then Rockefeller in the 1900s said, you know what? We don't want people who actually build wealth and become capitalists. We want them to be, what did he say? We need workers. We don't need people who think. We need workers. And this is what capitalism is based on.
Workers and consumers. They want workers and consumers.
And consumers, yes, that's the other flip side. Although, consumers, if you're a capitalist, you can also be a consumer. Actually, you're a bigger consumer.
Of course you are, yes.
Right, because you have more capital to spend on things. So consumers is a given, because you will always consume it, the necessity like food and shelter and all that.
But America very specifically has bred even more consumers just by what we're told on the TV. We're told we need that bigger house, the bigger car, the bigger TV. We're told constantly. That's a major impetus behind our capitalistic society is go consume, go consume. And what literally I think these people we're talking about, they want people to work, they want them to exchange all their hours of their life, and they want them to spend every penny.
Yeah.
No nest egg. That's, don't do that. Just go spend.
Yeah, go spend it. Yeah, it's kind of a world that appeared in the last 100 years with industrialism. That you go to work and you spend your money to create your life. To be buy what you need, and then buy more what you need. And marketing and commercials, unfortunately, do not a good are not really, in the end, are not very good for society when you think about it. To buy more than they need. But on the flip side, we don't. I don't want to focus on my book. I wrote something about commercials, and it's not good for you. It's good for the people who create the goods, because they are the capitalists, and but you want to be on the other side of it. And good products don't even need commercials and advertising. Like the iPhone, there was almost no commercials for it. There are things that are good that will be bought, and unfortunately, there's commercials too many. But I'm not even against that. I think that's a good thing if you market something so people know it exists.
Sure.
But I want the book. I want to focus the book. Maybe I focus too much on commercials or on that consumerism in my book.
Oh, I didn't think so. I'm just telling you my opinion is that we're pushed towards. I wasn't even really speaking I didn't think that you. I didn't think that that was emphasized overly.
Okay.
I'm just telling you what I experienced. Yes.
I did have that a little bit in my book. That was I started the book almost 10 years ago, actually 10 years ago. And in the beginning, I had a lot of, oh, something happened. I don't hear you. Wait. You muted yourself.
Sorry about that. I had a phone call come in and cut you off. I just wrote the phone number down.
Oh, okay, good. No, I was just saying in the beginning, I was focusing a little bit on the other side, the consumer side, which is, it's an equation, right? A equals B. So if you are, on one side, I have that formula actually in my book. Initiate or invent something, and then develop it, execute, and then accelerate it. Accelerate is basically the marketing part of it. Get it out in the market. And if you want to be on the right side and not on the left side, which is consuming the product, you will be on the left side as a consumer always. You always need things that you cannot create yourself. Otherwise, you live somewhere, in the tribe where you do everything yourself. But consumerism is important nowadays. That's what I feel. But not at this extent. And also, if the other side of the equation does not even exist for most people, and that's the problem. But I'm very so. I was just looking into real estate rentals, doing rentals, short-term rentals, to create assets that produce cash flow every month. I have 2 businesses, actually 4 businesses, but 2 active right now. 3 active. A rental business or real estate business, a printing business, graphic design, and then the publishing business. So that creates income for me. So I have the business side, the real estate side, and then there's money market securities and commodities. I have done some commodities pretty successfully. So that's another facet in my book. I want people to open their ideas, open their minds to different forms of assets, because people always think they need to go to financial advisors and they do stocks and bonds and that's it.
You're right.
And how did you find that part where, talk about different asset classes?
Yeah, I like that because, like I said, it helped me take an inventory. I myself have a short-term rental. I have 1 short-term rental. I have 3 long-term rentals. Oh, and I have a business, and I have stocks and bonds, and I have a lot of crypto. I have invested fully in crypto. Bitcoin? All crypto. A lot of crypto.
Really?
Bitcoin. Yeah, absolutely. The altcoin cycle right now is going crazy.
Yes.
So, there's a lot of little millionaires going to be running around if they're not already. All these little geeky guys been sitting home and looking at their computers for 10 years. Guess what? Their ship finally sailed. I mean, it's happening. So,
if you bought a Bitcoin in 2011, 10 years ago, 1 Bitcoin, you would have. I mean, you would actually buy more than 1 because at that time it was only $5.
That's right. I'd buy 1,000 of them. Why not?
Yeah, buy 1,000. Yeah, for $1,000. I mean, you would now be 1,000 times 60,000. How much is that?
Right.
It's like 6 billion.
6 million. 6 million. 6 billion. What? Yeah.
I don't know.
So it's a lot.
You would. I mean, look.
It could be billion.
If you have a long vision for things and believe in things, that's the other thing about thinking about assets. Which assets will will do well in the future and which don't. I know many famous people. They bought Yahoo when it was early, Amazon and Google, I think, and the price just went through the roof over the years, and they kept all this stuff. I mean, that's one part, of investing, looking into the future and try to predict. And that's kind of the trading war, that is part of it. You should do it, but it's not all of it. You should also invest for income.
Yes.
Exactly. So it's kind of a whole world to explore. And I think that's the beauty of it, that, that people have more options that they think.
Yeah, I agree. And what, I wasn't I only became a believer in crypto in December, literally in December this year, or 2020.
Yeah.
My brother dabbled with it, 10 years ago. He lost a bunch of money. The hackers stole some of his money. And I was just like, oh man, who wants to mess with that?
Yeah.
I wanted nothing to do with it. But then when I started paying attention, I started hearing it more. I started hearing about large institutions starting to adopt it and talk about it. And it wasn't just, it wasn't just some fabrication of these, computer nerds sitting at home.
Right.
And I recognized that literally I believe Bitcoin will eventually be easily worth $1 million per Bitcoin, easily.
Really?
I think it might. Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
it's a thermally sound investment device. There's only 21 million ever going to be in existence. They've already, about 4 or 5 million have been completely lost because the early people put their codes on a piece of paper and it got recycled, or it went in the garbage can or whatever. But it will not be affected by inflation. It will be an asset that I think families will end up holding onto, like a piece of real estate.
Mm-hmm. And
you can borrow against it. Like the guy who really convinced me is a guy named Michael Saylor. And he's this brainiac from MIT who originally thought it was all, just a bunch of crap. But at some point he started listening and paying attention, and he was like, he went to bed at night. He was like, oh my God, how do I get up and buy as much of that as I can? He starts scraping together money, and that was at $9,000 a share. And he bought as much as he could. And then he went to his board. He owns MicroStrategy, a company, or I don't know if he owns it. He's the CEO, whatever. He went to them and said, look, I think we need to take our cash reserves and swap it. And they went out and they told all of their stockholders, and they gave them all an option out. You don't want to be here, we will buy our stock back at a premium. If you want to be with us, and I want to say he said about 60% of the people stayed with him, and 40% said, yeah, cash me out for a premium. And then they went and they bought hundreds of millions of dollars of Bitcoin, and they continue. Every time they have cash, they buy more and more and more. He's the one who got Elon Musk to do what he did.
Really?
And he is in conversation right now with endless amounts of CEOs. There's not a CEO in the world who's not going, holy fright, I want to make sure I don't miss the boat. And he's an MIT graduate, and he's an engineer, and also he studied humanity. Like, he's more interested in, like, if I build this bridge, what does it do for people? Not just, is the bridge going to stand? It has to have, there's 2 functions, right? So anyways, he's the one who convinced me. I was like, holy fright, he's right. I believe it eventually, by the end of this year, I think it's going to be a couple hundred, probably 250,000, maybe even as much as 400 per Bitcoin this year. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that's what I believe. Yeah. And you can go out and go to Bitcoin IRA. You can actually take your IRA and buy Bitcoin with it now.
Oh, really?
And I changed one of my, I had a 401k from a company. I took that and made it into a self-directed IRA, or a self-directed 401k, a checkbook 401k, 10 years ago, to buy a little piece of property.
Uh-huh.
I speculated on a piece of property. I actually lost a little bit of money on it, but whatever. The point is that I started using my IRA for different things about 10 years ago. And I have now taken over half of my IRA and turned it into Bitcoin.
Wow.
I believe
smart.
I believe that right now, I'm up. And by the time all of that happened, Bitcoin was already at about 55,000. And it hit 63 the other day.
Yeah.
So, and it's going up. I believe it'll be 70 within a week or so. I think 70, and the Bitcoin historically has a 20 to 30% drawback. So if you were to, I did the math, I did my spreadsheets. If you buy and sell, it basically is, you're never going to hit the top, you're never going to hit the bottom, but you can look at graphs and charts and look at the MACD. Yeah, there you go.
This is just 1 year.
Yes,
this
1
is
year.
1 year from it was 9,000 in September. In May.
The first one I bought was in December for 19,000. The first Bitcoin.
Wow.
And I I had to like go, oh my God, I hope I'm not making, I really had to clinch it to do it. I was like, oh, I hope to God this is not fairy tale. But my conviction, I'm 100% convicted now, or convinced that this is, and you know about Coinbase going live this week? Coinbase did an IPO.
Yeah, I read that. Yes.
Yeah, it was valued at $250 a share, and it's, I don't know, it's probably, I don't know, $350 today or something. I actually did not buy into it. I try not to buy into hype.
Yeah.
But that is one of the first, this Coinbase, the users are like exponentially growing. Coinbase, it makes so much money. They reported their income, their earnings, like right before this initial offering. I'm just saying it's the tip of the iceberg, and it's happening. And I mean, you hear all of the big banks are talking about it. You know, the Warren Buffetts of the world who say, oh, this is crap. Well, okay, you can say that. But I'm telling you, when every institutional house,
This is Coinbase. It went up a little bit, and now it's like, it's $30. Oh, no, I mean, $300.
No. $300. So it's the company's really valued about $250 a share. 250 is where it should be, and it'll probably drop down there eventually, and I might buy it at that point, or I'll try to buy it at a discount if I can. But I'm exposed. I might even have a little too much exposure to Bitcoin right now, but I have a lot of exposure to the crypto industry, to the crypto market.
Wow. So what do you do for a living? I mean, in your businesses again, what are they?
I sell birth pools. I don't know if you printed stuff for me. The way I met you originally is I was the chair of the Wearable Art Show in Port Townsend, and I brought you guys my brochure, our program. 1 or 2 years. Yeah, that was a volunteer position that was a full-time job on top of everything else I do, and I have kids, and I sell birth pools. I'm looking around for a flyer. I don't even have pictures of them, but we sell inflatable and acrylic birth pools.
I see. Yeah. Oh, good. Okay. Is that the ones as a retailer or as a manufacturer?
I'm a retailer.
As a retailer. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Retail and trade in general is also always a good business. I know people who made millions and millions of dollars with trade, just trading things. Yeah, I mean that's great, and I mean we could talk for a long time. It's now half hour, I think. Yeah, now it's 35 minutes we talked about. I have more time, but so how do you think we can get the message out of that book better? Because I have sales, and which is a measurement of how many people read it, of course. But I want really a lot of people to read it, because everybody who read it, everybody who just looked into it, told me there are so many ideas and so many inspiring things in there, and I changed many people's lives already. At least the early process of the big change paradigm shift. How do you have any ideas how else I can get the message out, get more people to understand the concepts, read it, and so.
So I don't know that much about social media. Honestly, I actually don't like it in a lot of ways. I feel like it's ripping the fabric of our society a little bit. Yeah. I'm a bleeding heart liberal, but I start to go, hey, wait a minute, I'm starting to sound conservative in my views on occasion. So I would think that somebody like what's the guy, the rich dad,
Robert Kiyosaki?
Say that again?
Robert Kiyosaki.
Yes, I would get on his show. I would send him a book and say, I think people need to hear about this. Have him read your book. I'm just saying, I'm just that I did not think about this earlier, but that's the first thing that comes to mind.
First thing, yeah.
And I would say giving you need people to hear about this. How do people hear about things now? Social media. Even though I hate it, I think it sucks. It's a necessary evil, and you have a good message. And I think if you find other like-minded people, these people, all these people with all these little talk shows and podcasts that reach millions of people, they need people to talk to. They need subjects. You can think about this. If I'm scheduling a podcast, I'm probably got a full-time person looking for stuff, for subjects to cover.
Right.
And one of the things I would say, so I contact my brother and I said, oh my God, Cal, he lives in Paulsville. Cal, oh my God, I just read this book. It just changed the way I think about things. And I want to teach my kids how to manage assets. Well, I actually meet resistance because he doesn't have assets. He's not me. He has one child who's 6 years old. And I'm already thinking, how do I get a hold of that child a little bit later down the road? I've already started to look. I put some money in a college fund. Like I'm trying to plant this. I'm the only person in my family of 5 children who went to college. So I'm trying to plant the seed. Education is very important. And I want my kids to go. My kids already have money set aside for college because their grandfather was very generous. But I'm not sending them to very expensive colleges. They're going to do it on the cheap. I'm going to send them to a 2 or 3 year college for a couple of years to have them take tons of classes, figure out what they even like, what turns them on, and then go to a 4-year. And maybe send them to Europe for a year or 2. I want to broaden my children's horizons, and then I want to expose them to the world, and then teach them what I know and what I've learned. And then, because if I just take them right now and I start, I will be unsuccessful. They need to experience. They have to taste. So I want to do that with my niece, because she's part of the next generation. So I have 2 children and then my niece. So I have 3 kids who I'm already like, okay, I'm teaching you kids how to do this. But my brother is like, he's not in the same financial situation. So what I'm trying to say is the normal guy who's over 50, who's in, like you said, it might be too late for them. They're going to have a lot of resistance. But the people who are watching Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or whatever the name of that show is, will be open-minded and they will hear your message. That's what I think. I think if you what I'm trying to say is, I don't go out and I don't proselytize people about birth pools. People who come to me already are convinced that having a baby in water or laboring in water is the way to go. I could spend the rest of my life energy trying to proselytize people, but the people who come and want the information, I'm happy to hand it to them. So that's, I guess what I'm saying is, narrow down who your message is going out to. And what I find, it's possible you could do some Facebook ads. With all of this AI, they can target people. You can target people on Facebook and Google now better than before. I spent lots of money years past doing Google ads. It just went, it's a shotgun effect and you're hoping something hits somebody. But if you now use keywords, you might be able to find your audience and you might be able to target them and say, so that's my, what I know about marketing in this day and age.
I think that's very good feedback. Thank you. I like the show thing, to go on the show. I plan to do this when I get the chance. And Facebook ads are I have done Facebook ads in the past, but not always very successful. But this might be a successful road because I can target specifically, certain age groups. But I was wondering, you are like in your 50s, like I am, and you are very drawn to it. But I don't know about younger kids. Like my son is 15 today. It's birthday today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but he did not really bite yet. He reads.
My kids neither. I have an 11-year-old and 14, and they look at me like deer in the headlight. Okay, mommy, whatever. Because I'm like, oh my God, I just learned this. I'm going to teach you this. And they're like, yeah, okay, whatever. So I agree.
Yeah. So I don't know what the age group would be, but maybe like something in your 20s or 30s.
Yeah. One of the first things that I think I ever learned that made an impact on me is when I worked at a small company and somebody came in and talked about investing in a 401k. And they ran the numbers for me. If you invest this amount for the rest of your life, this is how much you'll have. And you put it in the bank at 1% or 5%, whatever interest. But if you invest in the stock market, historically 10 to 12%, they show you the numbers. You go, oh, I'm very visual. You see a graph that goes, whoop, you go, oh. So that got me to be an early investor. I had no idea, but all I know is that I maximized my withholdings. And because I know if it's on my paycheck, I'll spend it. But if I take it away, I never see it, it goes right into this account, I'm better off. And I know this. Yep. And that to me was when I first became aware of what my future could be and what my different paths could be. And
that was in your 20s or 30s?
Yeah, early 20s. I had my first, I didn't go right after college. I broke my parents' heart and I got married when I was 19. And, but I had a job. I started a job as a clerk, but I was a really hard worker. I had a good work ethic. I learned from my parents. And so I worked really hard, and this company is like, you're a temporary, but we want to hire you. I'm like, okay. And they hired me, and then I had the benefits. And then I sat in a conference room one time, and somebody was talking and showed me these graphs. And I'm like, well, that's a no-brainer. So, the HR person or whatever. And so I started putting away a chunk of my paycheck into my 401k. That's how we all get started, I would think. But not everybody goes to work at corporate America. That was corporate America, and not all small little mom and pop places give you retirement of any sort.
Yeah.
So that is how I first started. That's how I became aware. So I was 19 at the time. I went back to college when I was about 21. So I was a little bit older. I was a couple of years older than everybody, but still it did.
Yeah, me too, actually. I went to college when I was 23 or something. Mm-hmm. I did a trade school first for 3 years. Yeah, electrician. But so interesting. Wow. I would love to talk to you about my book and your, career or your what you're investing in. We should definitely meet one day to talk a little bit about some, ideas and things. We don't live far away. But for now, so what's your last kind of, what's the word? One thing that you would people like to know about this book? One thing.
I think if you want to improve, you have to take an inventory of where you're at. And this book helps you do that. So if I want to if I want to get better at anything, I have to start with where I'm at to begin with.
Yeah.
So to me, that's one of your very first messages is you take an inventory. And then you can leapfrog and grow from there. But if you don't take an inventory, you don't have a starting place.
Good point. Nobody said that before. That's actually right. That's what I try to do. Have people think about their situation. Everybody is different. And your message in the back about towards the end was if you're at a certain age, you may not have done this. Doesn't mean you can't teach your kids. Mm-hmm. You can explain to them like this isn't even if you're not in the if you didn't find yourself being happy with where you are, mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that it's all over. It just means that you need to educate the next generation. Right. You always have a platform where you can live, and you can experiment still, if you have a little bit of money, as a more senior person, 60 years, you can take that chunk and, think and invest it correctly. A lot of capital lays around, I think, especially with some people who have some career and they don't know what to do with it, really. I think that is, and they think, having it in the bank or with a financial advisor is good enough. I think the majority has this kind of situation. Absolutely. But if you think a little bit, and the term risk, I also talk about that. I think is relative, because the more you know about an asset or an industry or anything, the less risk you have, navigating within it. Yes. And that's what people don't really consider when they have assets. They say, "Oh, this is too risky." Yeah, of course it's risky. When you race drive, you have never sat in the car. Mm-hmm. It's very risky. You will have an accident. But if you are a very experienced race driver, you can make, maybe even win. So that's maybe a good closing sentence for you, that you say. The way how do they do an inventory and start thinking about what they want to do with it. Yeah, and just recognizing the possibilities, because I agree with you. I feel like, let's talk about poverty for a second. I feel like a lot of the roadblocks or the obstacles for a person who lives in poverty is they can't see a way out. Mm-hmm. If they
okay, I can even apply it to me. I remember had a couple of good mentors in my life. A coworker, I used to work at Tektronix down in Portland, Oregon. Okay, one of my coworkers is like, you need to go and ask for a raise. I said, I do, because I'm like, what do you mean? I'm just sitting here working really hard. She goes, you work really hard. You're very valuable. Nobody is going to go and ask for a raise but you. Nobody is going to be your advocate except for, I'm like, really? She taught me right then and there. I'm like, really? Are you sure? She goes, march your butt in there and go get a raise. And I did. I marched in there and I said, well, I'm worth more money. And they're like, okay. And they gave me more money. I didn't know that was possible. Yes. My parents didn't sit me down and say, hey, Marla, you're really good. I was taught, you get a job, you work hard, and good things should come to you, hopefully. That's what I was taught. That's what I think, that's the old generation, right? Yeah. Now, and and I could even get in a whole nother subject between men and women. A woman will not apply for a job unless she is 100% qualified. A man will apply for a job if he's 60% qualified. It's statistic. It's a statistically.
Really? I did
absolutely.
not know that.
Yes. Wow. I did delve into a lot of variances between genders because of my role as the Wearable Art Show. We specifically raise money to elevate women and girls in our community.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's all there's a whole world out there about the disparity. A white woman earns 70 cents on the dollar of a man the same job. A woman of color only earns about 55 to 60 cents on the same dollar. Yeah. Anyways, there's all these disparities. But the point is that our I was trying to talk about confidence and knowing that you can go do this, knowing that you just so I think to me a lot of the issues with poverty are that they don't see a way out. It's a life. They just do what they see. Yeah. If I did my father was a lineman, electrician, lineman. He'd go out in the middle of the winter, 40 below, to go out and fix people's power, putting his life on the line. High winds, dangerous. Yeah. That's what my father did. He said to me, I don't want you using your body. I want you to use your mind. I want you to go to college. Okay. Yeah. So he shifted me, right? Otherwise I would do what he did. That's what I saw. Yeah. Okay. So if I'm in poverty and I don't know how to get out of it, very few people are going to go and develop tools to get out of it. You have to be shown. So I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say, but I'm saying that to me, your book is a tool. Mm-hmm. It's a tool to get people to recognize where they're at and where they could go and seeing a possibility. The woman who told me you're worth more money, you need to go in there, ask for a raise, she changed my thinking. Oh, right. So that's what I think your book has the power to do.
Wow, this is brilliant. This is beautiful. Thank you. And this is a good metaphor, when you say like women, in this case, or colored women or white women, and this disparity between these groups of people, and that's exactly what it is. There certain groups of people have certain expectations and certain paradigms that they live in, and they don't think they can get out of it. The same with the average investor. I'm calling it average investor because they buy stocks with a financial advisor. They are living this paradigm, and they don't see that they can get out of this paradigm to do something much bigger and much greater, with more passion, with more freedom, and a little bit more grit, probably, that they need to overcome some resistance to certain things. But that's part of, also I talk about behavior in the book, about morals, things, and that goes right in line with it. If you have certain assumptions, you live them now, and that's a good. I appreciate you brought that up, because this is exactly what the book, what I tried to do, to break that paradigm so people can get out of it. Wow, yeah. It is for me. It's powerful. For the last 15 years, I bought my first real estate, 1999, just before the new century, and I had my lessons with it. It was not so successful, but I learned over the last.
Yeah, and you changed it, right? You changed it from an expense to an asset.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It was. I wrote about it in my book, right?
Yes.
First it was not an asset, it was a liability. And I always thought, well, the price goes up and I can, later I can sell it. I couldn't. So it was just, not a good investment. And I should have known that. And I know the moment when I signed the contract to buy this, I knew I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm doing it anyway to see what happens. I kind of instinctively knew that it was not the wisest decision. Somebody actually pulled me into it and tried to convince me to buy it. It was like a whole. She was doing this to many people who are employed, have a good job and everything because they can afford it because it's a liability, and with tax credit and all of that. But it didn't work out that way. But I learned from it, and I instinctively knew that when I signed this contract, I will learn something, whatever it is. And it wasn't that bad, There were people who were affected much more than I was. They had bankruptcies even. But yeah, I mean, that's the route that people should take and sign contracts, even if they're not 100% sure if it's, not too devastating and they lose. But they learn. Well,
no motion is also a killer, right? You have to take some sort of action or motion. Otherwise, you're stagnant.
Exactly. Take calculated risks, and learn about this deal. Learn about it and try to, learn from your mistakes. That's really, and if it's you should never make a deal that is kind of uncontrollable, where you have so many unknowns that, I had certain unknowns, but the next real estates I bought, I always made great money on it. The rent that I got and also the appreciation.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. With that, man. Yeah. It's Friday, and I don't know how the rest of your day looks like. I'm gonna sit in my office, finish some things off, and maybe go outside. The weather is.
It's beautiful. I know. Yeah.
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 Good. Well, I think we're gonna wrap it up then.
Okay.
And I thank you so much. And I love your spirit. I love your, the things that you, how you think about things. I wish more people would take this initiative and be active.
Oh, and I tell you, you say you're talking about, do you have any short-term rentals, or you're just now getting into it?
No, I want to have 4 short-term rentals this year. I have rentals, but not like normal, conventional.
Yes.
Rentals. Yeah.
So I inherited my father and mother's house in Brennan, out in the canal. Okay. And I had a renter, and he trashed the place, and it took me like a year. I'm very handy. I taught myself, I tile, I can do flooring and all that. But I'm getting older now, so it's harder on my back and my hands and knees and stuff. The long and short of it is that I refurbished the house and I turned it into a short-term rental. And COVID was a blessing. It's full constantly, all winter long. Who wants to go to Brennan in the middle of winter? All it does is rain. People lined up to go to Brennan. Wow. I don't know that this next winter should not be that way, but I would say in every month of the winter, I had every day rented except for about 4. And the positives of a short-term rental, assuming you get a good maid service, which is I do have. I found these lovely, lovely women, two sisters who run this, and they're very ethical. I trust them with my life. Yeah. They are the key to making it successful. Yes, I agree. But it's become a little cash cow. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled by it. I could never get that amount of money on a long-term rental. No. And if I could, I own a house in Port Townsend, I would turn it into a short-term rental today, but they have a moratorium on it in Port Townsend. Oh, so, and of course, everything you buy, you have to make sure the homeowners association will allow you. And so you know all these things, but I would say of all my rental experience, the short-term, it's been time-consuming, but it's been very lucrative. It's been very helpful, and I'm so glad. And it was risky to me. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm out in the middle of nowhere. Is this going to work? And it worked. It worked amazing. So, and I will tell you that probably the biggest draw is a hot tub, which is a pain in the ass. I have been under that thing during our last snowstorm. I'm underneath it, changing out a valve with frozen rigid pipes. My son is holding a blow dryer, heating the pipes so I can glue them together. I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of pain and suffering that I have gone through, but at the end of the day, it's a cash cow, and that hot tub is a draw. It's a major draw. Everybody, and I got 5-star rating, and I do all the I go to Dollar Tree and I buy all the spices and cooking stuff, and I stock the kitchen. People love it.
Nice.
I went to Goodwill. I furnished the entire kitchen. I went July 4th. Everything was 50% off. I furnished the entire kitchen. I'm talking every plate, pan, cooking utensil. I might have bought brand new silverware, but $100. I put a TV in every bedroom. I bought them all at garage sales. I put all Roku on every one of them.
Oh, nice.
I did the cheapest. I did buy new furniture on Amazon. Had it delivered, but in general, I did it on the cheap, and it looks good. I get great ratings, and I love it. I love the short-term rental.
Maybe if you like, we can do another interview about short-term rentals. And put it on YouTube.
Sure.
And then
also
and your business and your short-term rental.
And that's my second one. My boyfriend has a short-term rental in Tahoe, and I fixed it. He had a man cave, a condo man cave, and I took it. I decorated it.
Wow.
I upgraded. I turned that over. I did turn it over to a management company because it is in California. But and that is also very successful. That was my first one. And that, you have to learn about the linens. You have to learn about what do you do about soap. Yes. Okay, there's a large learning curve. But once you do it, and now when the guy came in to take photos of this place, it was my second rodeo. He goes, "You've done this before, haven't you?" Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
And the good thing is this is all part of this new paradigm that people get in, shared economy.
Shared economy.
And that is that fits right into this whole idea of the wealth of generations. Because what happens when your children inherit the place, they inherit a cash flow positive business. That's what it is.
Right.
And if you create these things smartly, there's a lot of assets that you can leave, and also the value that you create for people. And there's a whole new industry. People love Airbnbs. I have. And
even from a perspective, my maids now have 3 or 4 Airbnbs that they do. Mine is the busiest, and they're busy all the time. They have, and it's their business. They're self-employed. That I gave them a stream of income. Yeah, I didn't just give me a stream of income. Yeah. I gave a service a stream of income. I have a Wi-Fi out there. They use a satellite. I am now a customer of theirs.
What Wi-Fi do you use? Do you use
it's NOP Data Centers is who I use, my vendor. They came out. They had to find. They go across the seaback because I'm on the water. So they put a dish up. They got up on the roof and installed the dish. What I'm saying is, out there was no internet. Like CenturyLink is like using a turtle.
Yeah, you can forget.
Yeah,
and now there's another component, the Starlink. Have you heard of
Starlink? Yes.
Oh, that's what it is?
No. Yes, of course I say, because I know about Starlink. Yes.
Because that's another opportunity, for people to get out there and have full internet.
That is critical. Starlink and the infrastructure bill Biden's put together, that includes a ginormous amount of money to get, because I'll tell you what, if you live in the middle of nowhere, or even out here where we live in paradise, we have city council people who don't want us to move forward into the next century. They literally, out here in Jefferson County, they're anti-business. They don't want rich people to move here from Seattle and work from home. They literally hate that. They put every roadblock to not let that happen in Jefferson County. So they don't want high-speed internet. They don't want a professional to be able to buy a very inexpensive house out here in comparison to Seattle and work from home. They absolutely hate that. I have heard city council members say, we don't want Carmel. I'm like, yeah, but we also have to give. We have a lot of poor people. Do you know at my kids' school, like 50% actually my kids go to Paulsbo, but 50% of the kids here qualify for food subsidy.
Wow.
We have a boatload of poor people here. This is crazy.
Wow.
And to deny them high-speed internet is a disservice.
You're right.
Absolutely. It is an equalizer. It is if you're okay, yeah. I was listening to NPR yesterday. If I live in a rural area and I don't have high-speed internet, I'm not getting a COVID shot. Do you know it took me 3 hours to get me and my boyfriend signed up for a flipping COVID shot? easily. And I had the time. I can work from home. I'm looking every day. It took me hours. If I'm a poor person and I'm high risk, I'm not even able to get a shot without a high-speed internet. You get what I'm saying? To me, that's one of the great equalizers. And they know it. Biden knows it. We could probably talk about a stimulus package and, the goods and bads and inflation and all this other stuff. We're printing money like it's, it's on a, we're printing money like crazy.
What's the debt?
I don't even know.
I think it's 34 more.
30 trillion? Oh, it could be more. I don't know.
Wow.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I recognize that it's a bad thing, but I also recognize that our bridges are falling down and
we need
the people aren't learning. They already know all the kids this last year. Pretty much all kids in America are behind about a year.
Wow.
They lost a year of schooling.
Yeah.
And I can tell you firsthand, I don't know about your experience, but it's very difficult to have a job, have things to do, and try to get your kids to do homework.
Yeah.
I'm not a teacher. I would never make a good teacher. I don't have enough patience.
Yeah. My son takes online classes. It works out pretty okay. But you're right. I mean, and internet is a big part of that too. What do people do who don't have good internet at home or good computer?
They don't. They're not learning. The kids are not learning.
Yeah. I mean, this is really, there's so many critical things happening right now. And, you can take advantage of it, or like Jefferson County can just say, nah, we want to stay in the 18th century.
That's what they literally want. I actually got it. Okay. My building right here I'm sitting in is in Hadlock. I bought this building a year and a half ago because I was tired of paying some other schmuck rent. He was a horrible landlord. It was long and short of it. It made more sense for me to buy my own building. I bought my building. I am like doing this. They're going to put in city sewer. Right now I'm on a septic field, right? All the houses in Hadlock are on septic. So we have a couple people who are trying to put in there's a bunch of people fighting it. Oh my God, this might cost us.
Oh, you pressed your mute button again.
My house value is going to shoot up. Soon as I have a vacant piece of land that I bought along with my building that nobody thinks worth anything. The moment sewer's in, guess what? It's worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
I can now build a duplex and put it here, and now I have another stream of income. I'm looking at it like, yay, come on, build me a septic. I'll pay, even if it's $40,000 per house. I don't care. Sewer. Get rid of my damn septic tank, which is a limitation. This is the thing we're fighting against over here, is small-minded individuals.
Yeah. Yeah, the rural areas, this is why you have to, this is also being smart, know the areas and know what restrictions, what regulations you have in which city, in which county. That's part of being an investor. People underestimate that. They think, why should I know about Jefferson or Clark, Clear Lake. I look in California right now, for example, and so I investigate in that regulation, how they are and everything. I mean, it's just being knowledgeable. Again, to my, morals, mind, and money. How do you like that saying?
Yeah, I like it.
People seem to be confused about it, but the mind part as an investor is very important. You need to know what you're into. And it's just being curious, asking questions, looking stuff, internet. I mean, come on, Google, you can Google everything or use
everything at our fingertips, everything.
I mean, this is just an amazing time when we, as we live as investors.
Agreed.
Not just as people, but as investors, you have so many opportunities. And this is just mind blowing. And, everybody who is poor nowadays is poor because they don't have morals, mind, and maybe they have morals. Some people have so strong morals that this prevents them to do anything. That's not true either. But there are opportunities out there, and we should talk maybe about short-term rentals. I have some ideas that I work on right now. There's a rental arbitrage. I don't know if you heard about that.
No, I haven't.
Rent a place somewhere. And then rent it out as short-term rental. So you pay the rent to the landlord.
Interesting. I knew what arbitrage was, but I had not heard of it. Rental arbitrage.
No, yeah, it's a term. And it's kind of tricky because you have to know the markets. There are tools, but there are also tools like Logify.com. I was thinking about if you want to use it, if you have 2 or 3 or 4 more, for listings, you can use that to really operate like a hotel. They make everything seamless.
Logify.
Yeah, look that up, Logify.com.
Okay.
They
Logify.com. Cool.
you can put everything.
I use a management company. The management company I use right now is Evolve for my short-term rental. And I honestly am considering just getting rid of them and just going directly to Airbnb. 80 to 85% of my tenants, short-term tenants, are Airbnb.
Oh, so you have it listed on Airbnb?
Oh, it's listed on, it's listed. So Evolve comes out, takes professional photos, and then they list it everywhere. They list it for you. And then, but I give them 10% plus, credit card. But there's things that annoy me. I pay my maids $150 and they take 10%. So I'm in the hole because my maids get the 150. So I only collect from my tenants, like after they take their 10%, what's that? $135. You get what I'm saying? And so things like that annoy me. I'm like, why are you taking my 10%? So, and what I found is that Airbnb, if I go find my property on Airbnb, it's marked way up. So Airbnb inflates it. And I'm still getting.
They also do the price determination?
Airbnb gets I have my base level, and it's logarithms that Evolve says works, blah, blah. Then Airbnb sees it, and they're like, that's not high enough. And they put a fat premium on, and I'm still renting it like crazy. So I contacted twice now. I finally was very adamant. I made them raise my prices. I said, if Airbnb can inflate my prices, so can I. I am the one who's taking all the risk. I'm the one who's doing all the work. I want the money. And what I'm trying to say is that might be part of a conversation we could have later, is I think it might be wise just to list with Airbnb directly. And
you don't
what
do
I'm
it
saying,
directly. I see. Yeah.
What I do it through Evolve, a little management company. They take 10% to do my management, right?
Yeah.
Well, what I'm trying to say is at the end of the day, Airbnb is who these people are going to. They have a ginormous following. And now Airbnb almost always sides with the customer, which I am not always for, because sometimes the customer's wrong. Like the one who left, a bale of hay in my hot tub. I'm exaggerating, but they left a boatload of grass in my hot tub. And then it takes me 5 hours to drain it and refill it, and then a day to heat it up. You get what I'm saying? So there's headaches, but I'm just saying, I think I might not even be doing it as smart as I could, even though
that's
think I'm
how to
smart.
optimize your operation.
Yes.
And that's so you have 3 rentals now? 3 short.
I have one short term. No, two. One in Tahoe, but I don't own that one. That's my boyfriend's. But I help. I'm the one who talks to So I have two.
So once you have 4, you need to seriously think about optimizing this whole process. And I'm kind of funny. I don't have one yet, but I already optimize. I try to find the best tools. Look up, YouTube videos.
Logify.
Other people that Logify kind of connects to all the other sites like Airbnb, Booking. They synchronize everything. So you can build your own website with Logify too, to have your own presence on the internet. And it's easy, it's configurable. You just need to press buttons. You don't need to hire anybody, and you get the most money out of it because you don't have a middleman. And, and they even have where they look for maids or cleaning people, for maintenance people, and you can send out bids for cleaning people, and they log in there, and then they find the bids and make offer. But of course, it's always a personal thing. So cleaning, as you said, that's crucial to have the right people. You have to know them.
It's crucial.
Yeah.
And
Marla, I appreciate your time. You are a jewel.
Oh, thank you.
We'll keep in contact, and keep up the good work, and thank you for your feedback. This is
you're welcome. Thanks for the book. Thank you for the book. Thank you. It was a beautiful gift. Thank you, Ingmar. You have a good day.
Care. You too. Bye.
Bye.
If you like to know more about how you can use capital to create income, learn about the leverage indicator, and the 3 types of income in general, asset classes, the 5 asset classes we have, If you like to learn about the division of labor, what's behind it, who invented it, who came up with that. If you care about retirement, if you want to know how to create retirement assets that create income, and the 2 laws of wealth, and much more. If you want to be part of this whole journey, I can recommend that you buy this book today, The Wealth of Generations. It's available at Amazon, and Barnes & Noble, and any retailer worldwide. You can go to stores in Australia, in London, Germany. They will have that book. They can order it for you, and of course at Amazon everywhere, and they deliver it within a few days. I hope you will read it, because it will change your life. It will change your life for the better, because you are more knowledgeable, and will create maybe a little paradigm shift for you. So I hope I will see you on the other side. I hope you will enjoy the book, and I hope you enjoyed the interview with Marla. And there's more to come. Stay tuned, and you can subscribe to the channel and also like that video. It will definitely help for sure. I hope that the video gave you some insights of some ideas where you can move on with your financial assets and financial planning. With that, I will see you soon, hopefully. Bye.